mature for my age.
Yeah.
And I'm quite extrovert, so I suppose I'm never going to be the one that's sitting in the corner not speaking to anybody. And I had a place at university. I think that's my biggest regret, is I didn't take it up.
Okay.
And economic and social sciences.
Okay. Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, when I look back at my life, I actually did go into business with or without the degree, and was able to develop a successful business. And the social sciences part of the degree, which I wanted to do, I've also done through, the International Human Rights Charity and now the mental health charity that I'm running.
Yeah.
So,
tell me a bit more about this mental health charity, Safe New Futures.
Yeah, well, really it's about enabling people to get back into employment, and also to help young people who've dropped out of the education system to get into education or into training.
Do you have an age limit or something when they are dropping out? 18, 16?
We run programs for 16 to 25-year-olds.
Okay.
But we also run programs for 13 to 16-year-olds.
Okay.
And then for 25-year-olds plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get people from 13 to 16? Because that's kind of a mandatory education, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we did. Before the pandemic, we had schools saying, we'll drop our children to you 2 days a week for 5 weeks. That's, so they understood that the importance of the kind of support that we could give children. So, yes, it was 2 days a week for 5 weeks out of the curriculum. But they came back engaged and motivated and able to progress with their studies, whereas before they had been disengaged. So
again, they brought more positive attitude and more positive mindset out of that curriculum.
Yes.
Then. Okay,
I've got to say, since the pandemic, it's not been so easy, because we've gone online and schools have been very overwhelmed and overworked. So it's been even hard for them to engage with us to enable the children to get the kind of support they need.
And what sort of support we provide to 16 years to 25 years in this, Safe New Futures charity?
Yeah, so it's a 10-day program.
Okay.
2 days a week over 5 weeks, but then we also provide support for full 6 months.
Okay.
So basically on the first day of the 2 days, it's group cognitive behavioral therapy based programs, which are about helping people to change their core beliefs. So a lot of people will have very, poor self-esteem and low confidence based on their actual core beliefs that they've developed, perhaps, as a young child or as an adult. Perhaps they've been bullied at school. Something has happened to make them feel bad about themselves. And because they feel bad about themselves, their confidence is low, their self-esteem is low. And if that's not addressed, it can develop into anxiety or depression, and then that stops them from leaving the house. It stops them from engaging with education or even putting themselves forward for a job. Yeah. So although there's a big element of CBT in our programs, sort of the bigger elements are the peer support that people give each other. So they all get together on day one and suddenly realize, oh my goodness, I'm with a group of 12 other people who feel exactly the same way as I do. I'm not the weird one. I'm not the odd one out. Actually, here are 12 people who understand exactly how I feel, even though it's different circumstances.
And having that understanding is very important, isn't it?
Huge, yes, because otherwise people feel alone and isolated. And people who feel alone and isolated, it's very, very hard to cope when you feel alone, and that's when people can go downhill, and especially the number one cause of killer. The number one killer in men is suicide, and a lot of it is because they're not talking to people and they think they're alone and they feel like nobody understands them. So that's a huge part of the course, that what we call socialization and normalization. So making their circumstances feel normal, and the peer support, which is around socialization. And then there's also two other parts actually. One is one-to-one mentoring with our facilitators. So we've really highly trained facilitators who run the courses. And that's just where people can one-to-one say, right, so I've learned this, but how am I going to put it into practice? So it's around goal setting. It's not therapy.
Yeah.
I just need to make that clear. It's not counselling. It's not healing in any description. It's literally saying that happened to me and made me think that way. I'm not going to think that way about myself anymore because that happened doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
Changing the direction.
Exactly. And then how is this going to affect me in practice? Oh, do you know what? I'm going to go out and apply for a job because I know I'm good at so many things. So that's that one-to-one mentoring.
Self-realization and self-actualizations.
Yes. And then another part is the whole vocational element, actually pinning down, what people are good at. So we'll say to them, what are you good at? What are your strengths? Oh, not much. Oh, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
And then they do go through the exercise with us and realize they've got dozens and dozens of strengths and transferable skills.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Okay. Well, that's really nice. And I think, having that exposure or that, when you fall into that situation where you have to come out of that, was that one of the reasons why you chose the CEO position of, Safe New Futures? That mindset, how you cope up with it, and then you are thinking probably making the difference to other people as well?
Yes. Yeah, it's really important to me to feel that I'm making a difference in life. I could have, I suppose, after my early business years, gone down the route of business and making money. And somehow it wasn't enough. I wanted to be doing something that was making an impact and changing people's lives. Especially, I think, young people, because I know there were people there in my life, youth club leaders and so on, when I was 13, 14, 15, that made a huge difference to my life and helped me find a positive way forward, where I could have so easily gone down a negative path, a wrong path, and so I'm deeply grateful to those people who helped me. So I suppose in a way, I do want to give back and help others who might find themselves in difficult circumstances to make the best of themselves and of their lives.
And how easy it is for people to just reach out to Safe New Futures?
Very easy. You just need to phone us.
Okay.
So we're a Southampton-based charity.
Okay.
Our website, if you want it, is www.safe.org.uk.
Safe.org.uk. Okay.
Yeah. And so all the contact details are on the website, and people can self-refer, but you can go through your GP or your job centre or whoever.
And what's your tip about, we talked about this topic, or we are covering this topic called importance of developing positive mindset in personal and professional life. What do you mean by that? How is that relevant to the this charity which you are working at the moment, or your experience?
Yeah. I mean, one of my favourite quotes is one from Nelson Mandela, and he says, it always seems impossible until it's done.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I think about all my experiences, when I was working in Denplan, all the research that we did said, no, you're mad. It was all, the health service dentistry was funded then. And so they said, there's no way that people will want to pay and do a payment plan for their dentistry. Why would they do that? And why would people want preventive care and so on and so forth? And do you know what? We said, no, it's important. We believe in it. So we're going to make it happen. And we did. The same way when I had a real interest in going to third world countries and disadvantaged countries and helping people that nobody else was noticing, or who were being persecuted or marginalized. And I had 3 young children, and I remember even myself saying, how on earth can I do this? I've got 3 young children, they're the most important thing in my life. I have no family support network. How am I going to do this? And you find if you start taking the first few steps forward, it happens. Same when the charity I'm in now, before the pandemic, we were running our training course, and I was visiting my brother in Spain, right, because he wasn't well, and it was just before the lockdown. I was on the plane on the way back, and my trainer phoned, and he said, "Oh, we're having to shut the offices." It wasn't lockdown, but they were shutting the offices. We're going to have to stop the training courses. Well, I was on the last emergency flight back from Spain, because they had declared a state of emergency in Spain when I was in the air, which was really not very helpful. Anyway, I said, look, Michael, I can't talk. I'm literally on the gangway now. I'm getting into the plane. I can't speak. We're running those courses. He said, well, how can we? We've nowhere to run them. I said, don't even talk like that. We're running them. We're finding a way. And so the next morning I went straight to the offices, picked up all our laptops, all our computers, gave them out to everybody and said, we're carrying on. And no one had heard of Zoom back then, but I'd seen it. I said, Zoom is happening, telephone calls are happening. We're providing the support for these people who are on our programs one way or another. And we grew. We grew threefold during the pandemic. And again, that was another case where people said it can't be done. Yeah. I had everybody, I can't tell you so many people saying you can't run your programs online. And I said,
you did it.
We can. We actually can. And we have. So, it's really important.
That's great. Thank you very much. And I said that I'll come back to your entrepreneurship, the venture which you are running. If I have to ask you one tip from that, experience or the book which you have written about Rising from the Fire, about the mindset, what kind of mindset is required to be developed for being a successful entrepreneur, as a tip for our listeners?
A tip for our listeners. I think really get in touch with your passion and what the things that you really, really care about. Because if it's coming from a place deep inside and it's coming from a place where you're feeling the emotion, you're going to make a success of it because you really, really care about it. If you have a great idea for making money, but actually you don't care,
money follows. You have to just act.
You just have to go with what you with your passion, really. And not to give up, because obviously even if it is your passion, it's really hard work, and it's only your passion that'll see you through. So that is true in so many aspects of life. So, during the pandemic, I hadn't ever played tennis before, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to take up tennis. And it was terrible. But you can do it. If you decide you want to do it, you can, and you really want to do it. So
if you wanted to do something, if you have got burning desire, if you have got hope, just get it done, get it started, and it will be done.
Absolutely.
Don't stop yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's the importance of developing the positive mindset. And of course, you are listening to Business Town Talks on Unity 101 radio station. Today, we have talked about importance of developing positive mindset in personal and professional life, along with my guest and writer of the book, Rising from the Fire, as well as the CEO of Safe New Futures. So if you wanted to talk about anything, talk to Nina or go to safe.org.uk, where you can get in touch with them and maybe, something can help you to transform your life. Nina, thank you very much for coming over here. Do you want to share anything else with the people in 30 seconds? Any new learnings or anything which you wanted them to think about?
Just don't procrastinate. Just do it. He who dares wins.
Yeah. He who dares, he wins. Well, thank you very much. It was great to have you over here on Business Town Talks with me as your host, Santosh Kumar, and producer Tom, and sound engineer Amy. For our audience, hope you have enjoyed the deep dive and all the tips and tricks to help you grow your audience and your business with our guest, Nina Kelly, CEO of Safe New Futures. We will have another thrilling and exciting next new week. As always, you can head over to Business Town Talks to sign up to our email list, as well as check out the different videos and resources on unity101.org under the Listen Again section. That's it for this particular episode, folks. Thank you very much. See you next time. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Community